Let's talk some John Henderson, who made it into the College Football Hall of Fame. And congratulations to him. One of the more beloved balls and one of the more unlikely stories that I would like to tell you when it comes to a superstar in the NFL, because it almost didn't happen. And you may actually never hear me say this again, but the reason it happened is because the NCAA did something smart. So I'll tell you how the NCAA saved his career, Caleb. But first, what were your thoughts on John Henderson going in the College Football Hall of Fame? And would you consider him a tier one Tennessee superstar, which I guess would include Peyton Manning, Johnny Majors, Al Wilson? I mean, I like to keep that top tier relatively uncluttered. Is Henderson in that top tier in your mind?
He's absolutely in that top tier. And he's definitely in the top tier of the modern era. And that's why I dropped some names that we're going to compare him to in a little while. But John Henderson, Dave, I don't know if you know this. He's one of 3 players in Tennessee history to be a 2-time All-American while also winning the award for the best player at his position. Him, Steve DeLong, and Eric Berry are the only 3 players in that category. That is rare company. And I feel like I'm just going to tell a quick story. I was at another place back in the day covering Tennessee for a larger network. And someone asked me to do a Mount Rushmore of Tennessee players of the last 40 years. And I was kind of debating because it's hard. And you know this, Dave. It's really hard to do a Mount Rushmore. Like, okay, yeah, Peyton Manning, clearly. But, like, there's a few others that are debatable.
I'm just going to tell you that John Henderson would be nowhere close to my Mount Rushmore.
And that's why Dave has no respect. John Henderson is very close to the Mount Rushmore. He just missed it for me. But look, we're going to talk about a few other guys. But the guy comes straight to me and he goes, Peyton Manning, Reggie White, and Eric Berry are slam dunks. And I came back and I said, why is Eric Berry a slam dunk over John Henderson? And this is where Dave and I are going to debate about this soon. But because I want to compare him to a few guys, because I don't think John Henderson should be slighted compared to some other legends in Tennessee. And we'll compare them.
Okay, I don't know how you define top tier Mount Rushmore, but you have to, I believe, agree with me that John Henderson was the second best defensive tackle in his team when he lined up alongside Albert Haynesworth.
No! Okay. Haynesworth was a better NFL defensive tackle. John Henderson was absolutely better in college.
Well, if not for the maturity issues, I mean, he would have been elite. But Haynesworth had some maturity issues. But I can tell you, Tennessee's coaches thought a lot more at the time about his ceiling than Henderson. So that's not a knock on Henderson.
Who drew the double teams in 2001? It wasn't Haynesworth.
So, quick Uncle Dave story. Do you remember Prop 48?
Yes, I remember Prop 48.
Okay, so here's what Prop 48 was. You almost make your grades, but not quite. So you go to a college of your choice and you can practice, but you can't participate in games. John Henderson was that player. That's when I was neck deep in covering that. He was this close. And if you're on an audio platform, I'm holding my fingers very close together. He was this close to never making it to Tennessee. And I'm going to tell you why. Because if not for Prop 48, he goes the junior college route. And I did a little bit of research on some junior college players, and one of Caleb's old stories happened to come up. But he is a guy that needed that affirmation early, I truly believe. And I think that generally when you look at recruiting, any prospect, I don't care if we're talking about George McIntyre, Nico, whatever, is about, depending on their ranking, at best, a 70% chance of being a solid player. If you go back and do the research, typically 50% of a recruiting class contributes, 50% doesn't. That number's at about 25% when you go to junior college. And kudos to the guys you wrote about in this column, one of your old columns I found. And there have been some fantastic ones. Dale Carter, Leonard Little, who we mentioned earlier, Jabril Wilson. I could go on and on. Alvin Kamara is the latest. But I'm telling you, you wrote about 10, and what I saw, there are about 5 million high school prospects that didn't or haven't made the grade went to junior college and flamed out. Why? Because that used to be on my beat when I worked with ESPN. Caleb, you could set up, I'm not joking, you could set up a home gym that is as nice as some of these junior college places. Academic support, nada. John Henderson goes junior college. I don't think he's ever a volunteer, and I don't think he ever has a Hall of Fame career and a long NFL career. I think it came down to that. Prop 48 is a thing of the past. Why? Because you now have high schools that know to get their players ready, and probably some cheating involved too. But to get Johnny ready because he's going to be a superstar in college football. But I still remember John Henderson walking into the media day, and it was the fan day too. That was right before his freshman year, and I think I'm pretty sure he was wearing number 1 because that was just the number they had available. And here he is, 6'7", and the goofiest baby face I've ever seen. That it was hard not to kind of fall in love with. I was like, I'm rooting for that dude. I don't know if he can play, but he got in, and he was so happy to be a Vol. So his backstory to me is incredibly rewarding when it comes to covering college athletics.
That's an amazing backstory. And you're right, Prop 48. I mean, that's a just so you know, I don't know if you know this, Penny Hardaway was Prop 48 at Memphis years ago.
I'll say I was covering a community college one time, no joke. Players had to sit out in the hall because the weight room, which was probably, I don't know, maybe 20 by 20 at the most, probably more like 20 by 12. They had to sit in the hall and wait for the bench press to come open.
That's crazy. But the other part about this is too, it's twofold. You're right. Like going to junior college, like really sets you up for more failure, but also John Henderson is proof that just because someone maybe didn't apply themselves and do all the things they should have done at first doesn't mean they're not going to be that person. There are some people like Brent Schaefer went to junior college and went to Ole Miss. Brent Schaefer never changed as a person, was always a diva, was always self-centered, and was just a total bust in a flame out in college because of that. But some people do actually change.
You know why I don't think he would? And I don't mean this as a shot at all. I don't think he would have because he was a little bit soft.
Brent
he was
Schaefer?
John Henderson. He was so incredibly talented that it made up for that. But, there are guys, Hainsworth was one too. There are guys that are naturally kind-hearted and just good people, and that doesn't mesh well with football. That's why, and I would love to pull up the clip at some point, that John Henderson liked his teammates to slap him across the face in the NFL. If that guy goes to junior college, and I'm glad everything worked out, I would bet my bottom dollar he never would have gotten out.
No, I believe it. Yeah. And as a matter of fact, let's just show it real quick. I'm going to show this because I got to give some of my thoughts on John Henderson too in a second. But
pull it up.
This is when he was with the Jags, to be fair. That's where it got caught on video. But this is what John Henderson used to do before every game, guys, when he would play.
I do want to mention that John Henderson getting slapped is thanks to our friends at the Hemp House, the premier hemp dispensary online with a wide variety, great selection, and strict standards. Hemp House Chat with 2Ts.com. Hemp House Chat with 2Ts.com. Use the promo code HOOKED for 10% off. All right, let's see John Henderson get slapped around a little bit.
Oh, Joe, that ain't good enough. Come on, Joe. Thank you, baby. Thank you. You making blood come from my damn mouth. Baby. You gotta make blood come to the mouth. You can't just smack me and don't hit me hard. That bullshit. When you hit a motherfucker, you hit that motherfucker. Let's kick their ass. Let's go.
How can you not love him? How can you not love him?
You know what's funny is that's another one. I've actually seen one where one of his teammates were doing it and they got slapped like 8 times.
Really?
Yeah, it was before every game. I haven't seen that clip. I thought you were going to play the one I'd already seen.
I haven't seen the one you were talking about. No, so okay, I want to point this out with John Henderson. A few things that we don't talk about. One, again, I just told you guys why he is on a tier of his own in terms of accomplishments. Okay, there are, in the modern era, and I say when I say modern era, guys, I mean post-integration. Fair? So it's 1968, 69.
Yes.
When you do a Mount Rushmore of Tennessee players during that time, there are 5 players you can name, and only 5. Reggie White, Peyton Manning, Al Wilson, Eric Berry, and yes, John Henderson. That's the top 5. There was nobody else. Okay. I'm sorry.
Well,
a 2-time All-American who also won the award for the best player in his position. He's one of 3 players in Tennessee history to do that. And he was an NFL Pro Bowler. And by the way, I want to point this out. John Henderson was going to be a top 10 pick after the 2000 season, Dave. He left millions on the table to come back to Tennessee just because he wanted to.
Yeah, he wanted to be a Vol, which was part of what made him so beloved.
And so I'm gonna do it. Should we can we 4 downs this a little bit with the players I named, comparing him a little bit?
We're having an interesting day with technical issues, so can we just not?
Okay, fine. Then let me just debate you with this. Let's
do this. How about this? I'm not going to depend on the production element, but let's give it a shot. 4 downs brought to you by our fantastic friends at HoundDogs. I was there yesterday. The selection is unbelievable. Let's talk some John Henderson. 4 downs.
Come on, guys, it's game time.
4 downs. Can you count? 4 downs. 1, 2, 3, 4. The Dave Hooker Show with Caleb Calhoun. Represented by T. Scott Jones. BanksandJones.com. Tennessee's trial attorney. From the Ted Russell Ford Lincoln Studio, East Tennessee's #1 volume and customer service dealer. Ted Russell Ford and TedRussellLincoln.com. Now to the Dave Hooker Show on Off the Hook Sports.
If I can get your thoughts on the message board on our new production elements and the female voice that I really like but can't hear because of technical issues. That's why Caleb's having to send me signals when to talk. Please say, hey, that sounds good, Dave. I wish you could hear it. All right, let's 4 downs it. As Cooper Mays would say, Cooper Mays here, first down.
First down, John Henderson at Tennessee versus Reggie White at Tennessee.
Oh, well, that's not close. It's John Henderson. Reggie White really only had 1 good season. You got to come harder than that.
But nobody would debate Reggie White's on the Mount Rushmore, and you just have John Henderson above Reggie White. So, boom, I'm already winning.
Well, I guess I kind of include what they did in the NFL because I think that further helps your program. And I think we would agree that Reggie White's the best pass rusher of all time. So maybe I'm
White is one of the top 2 NFL players from Tennessee of all time. So I can give you that. But
yeah, I think he's one of the top 3 NFL defenders of all time with Deion Sanders and Lawrence Taylor. I think Lawrence Taylor's the #1. But Tennessee center, Cooper Mays here, second down.
Second down, Al Wilson.
Can't even go there, not even close. Al Wilson's leadership trumps the deficit in talent, and I don't think there's any question that Henderson was more talented than Al Wilson.
See, I think you short sell Al Wilson too because he got hurt. But I agree with you. I take Al Wilson over Henderson in college and the NFL because Dave, we forget this. If not for a neck injury, Al Wilson's a Hall of Fame NFL player. Al Wilson would have been the best linebacker in the NFL every year if he wasn't playing at the same time Ray Lewis was playing.
Yep.
And so that I'm gonna go Al Wilson, but again, that's Al Wilson is such a class of his own.
Yeah. Third down, Cooper Mays, Tennessee center. Hope everybody's doing well. I'm in Arizona working out. All right, Caleb, what do you got?
Peyton Manning. I'm not gonna sit there and put John Henderson above Peyton Manning.
A 4th down. I'm one of the coolest guys that Dave's ever met. Cooper Mays, all SEC center. What do you got?
Eric Berry.
Okay. Here's where I got an issue. Is I cannot take an elite defensive back over an elite guy in the trenches. Just can't do it. Won't do it. I'll give you that. You got me.
Thank you. And also, it's a crime that Eric Berry got into the College Football Hall of Fame before John Henderson did. It's a crime. It's an absolute travesty.
Yeah, that whole thing is a lot of politics, I've been told. I know that they're pushing hard to get Deion Grant in there. He'll be the next one that gets in.
He deserves it.
Yeah, he definitely deserves it. And there's a lot more politics than you would think with that. I was talking to somebody, I don't want to share who it is, and it's like you have to continually make these pushes and fill out these applications, and he's got a teammate that helps him with that because Deion doesn't care. I mean, he owns like 4 different companies. I don't think he really cares if he's in the Hall of Fame. I'm sure he would appreciate it. Do you want to hear my Deion impression?
Sure.
Okay, ask me any question because he started and ended every statement the same way. Ask me anything. How's the weather?
Drake or Kendrick Lamar?
Almost definitely, I'll take Kendrick Lamar. I love that Humble song and whatnot.
That's actually really funny.
Every single statement started with almost definitely, and everyone ended with and whatnot.
Well, guys, I want to point out something to the message board real quick. Dave said that John Henderson's not close to the Mount Rushmore of Tennessee players of the modern era. But two people that would unanimously be put on there, Dave said he would take John Henderson over. Okay. So I'm going to play this game with Dave. Outside of Peyton Manning and Al Wilson, who are you putting on the Mount Rushmore above John Henderson?
Well, you and I at our 3:45 a.m. production meeting, we had a misunderstanding. I thought you meant of all time. So I have like Gene McGever and Johnny Majors. So that modern era, you might have sold me. And then, if you were including coaches, you'd have to have Nealon. I mean, so no, I mean, if you want to say modern era, I'll roll with that. So who would be your 4 Mount Rushmore?
See, it's a tough 4 because there's 5 for me, and I hate leaving somebody off. And I'm pulling my hair out because you're right. You go pro career because you go Reggie White, Peyton Manning, Al Wilson, Eric Berry, John Henderson. That's your clear-cut top 5. And I don't want to leave somebody off. I really don't.
But you got to.
If you force me to, because he didn't stay till the senior season, I'm leaving Eric Berry off.